far as markets are concerned, we continue to be down. There is a 8 to 10 point further decline than where we went, closer to the 7,700 mark. And now I think people would have started to got a little worried about where the markets are headed. 41, 42 points down, looking in slightly weak. Ruchit Jain of Angel Broking is now coming, is now joining us. Ruchit, good afternoon. Say if we break 7,700, what essentially would happen? Would it change your outlook?
Yeah, good afternoon, Pankaj. Pankaj, overall, if we just observe this corrective action in last 3-4 trading sessions, there are no signs that it is an impulsive down move. It is just a correction of this previous 2 months of up move which we had seen. On the lower side, the immediate support for the Nifty is coming around 7650 to 7675. So I'm not expecting the markets to immediately breach those levels of 7650 to 7775. In this range, I think this downside momentum would halt and some sort of pullback rally would be seen. Now, that pullback rally, when it comes, how far it would be, it is difficult to access at this point of time. But definitely around 78.30, 78.50 would be the range, I think, where markets could again test. Yes, definitely 8,000 resistance, which we were talking about since last, in last 2-3 weeks. That's definitely a stiff resistance. I'm not expecting immediately to markets to go up to 8,000 or cross those levels. But on the downside, one pullback rally should be seen from the 7650, 7675 levels.
Right. Sharmila Joshi is also now joining us. Sharmila, what do you make of the market move? A little bit of correction would be healthier?
Yeah, I think so. As you all have just been discussing, the kind of move that we've seen post-budget has been quite spectacular. And I think that at the end of the day, even if you are an FI and you do really view India as one of the geographies where you would like to invest incrementally, I do think that valuations at some point will play a part, and you may not be as wildly enthusiastic buying at 7,900 as you would have been at 7,200. It stands to reason. So I think some amount of correction is warranted. I think, again, May is typically one of those months where things are a little slower. But I think on the plus point, I must say that in a sense, the earnings season is panning out a little better than I expected. Of course, I think we are still to hear from the major banks. So, that there could be
major problem areas.
Yeah, so there could be some kind of hiccups going ahead. But so far, I think what we've heard is pretty much evens. And in fact, there have been some positive surprises.
Right. Ruchit, how would you look at Adani Ports today? It's down about 12% Adani Enterprise is down 8%. Adani Power is about 6% of the day's high.
See, I think there's it's entirely selling coming off in one group itself. If you observe specifically on the charts, then last 10 to 12 months they have been continuously forming this low top low bottom formation. And after this recent up move, even during this recent up move of last couple of months, these stocks have not outperformed the way the other mid cap stocks have rallied from the lower levels. So it was just a pullback rally, and today's downside momentum with increasing volumes indicates that the downtrend could resume in this stock. So one should not be in a much hurry to find any kind of bottom in these stocks just because the stocks have corrected 10 to 12%. One should not use this as a buying opportunity. I think Adani Port, specifically speaking, 180, which were the earlier levels, that those levels could be tested again. So one should not be in a hurry to do any kind of bottom fishing in these stocks.
Right. Ruchit, as we are speaking, Nifty has gone below the 7,700 mark, 48.49 rupees. At the 7,700 mark. Sharmila, what would be, your call? Say if we go down another 100, 150 points, we are below the 7,700 mark now. What essentially would happen? Would markets look attractive at 75.50? That was the, previous resistance level.
Yes, of course. But personally, I don't think that we'll go down much more from here. But definitely, I think that if you were to see that kind of a correction, it would mean that almost all the sort of momentum sectors that you had seen participating in this rally, they've come back to their earlier levels, and maybe markets could look interesting from that point again.
Right. About the Adani Group stocks that we were talking about, do you like any name? Did you see Adani Port numbers? Sharmila?
Very honestly, it's not a group that I've really ever recommended. And yes, I think on Adani Ports, there was that concern over ICDs or whatever, so the stock has seen a correction. In fact, I think all the names have seen a correction, whether it's power, whether it's port, whether it's enterprise. So I think it's best to stay away for a bit and allow them to correct really before you take a call on them. But as such, I don't really have a recommendation on any of the names.
Right. SKS Microfinance will be declaring numbers today. What is your expectation? You liked that name last time when we spoke.
Yeah, but I think it's pretty much sort of gone to the level I expected it to. So I think for me to be positive on this stock again, I would wait to see the numbers. And I think without doubt, if you continue to see that strong NI momentum being continued and NPAs etc. at decent levels, then there is really definitely room to have a recommendation again. But this stock also does some gyration. So it's sometimes a good idea to wait for it to correct for whatever reason and then enter it. But in any case, first I would wait now to see the results before I really have like a buy recommendation on it again.
Right, but overall, you still like the business that they are in. Overall, you still continue to be, believing that the business momentum will be positive. See, expectation is for 66% AUM growth. They may do 60%, but 60% is still some growth.
Absolutely, and I think as you said, not just SKS Microfinance, but that entire NBFC space is something that I like. So whether it's an SKS Micro, whether it's a Mannapuram. I've had buy calls on both. Then I think that even the housing finance companies, whether it's a company like a Diwan Housing or an LIC Housing Finance, I have been positive on those. Even Shriram Transport Finance, I think that's another stock that I've recommended. M&M Financials is another stock that I've recommended. So I think definitely if you had to look at the financial sector space, possibly these kind of stocks to my mind make better sense than really looking very actively at banks at this point in time.
Sharmila, stay on with us. Ruchit, just stay on with us. We're taking a break. We're coming back into markets below the 7,700 mark, 10 minutes away from the closing. Just about 8 odd minutes remaining for markets to close, 46 points down at the 7,800 mark. We were talking to Sharmila and Ruchit Jain. Ruchit, we spoke to Sharmila about SKS and the numbers that are likely to come in today. Any view on the technical side? You think it still continues to be in a positive territory? I think we have some technical issue with that link. We'll just go back again there. Sharmila, you were always a fan of something like a Eicher Motor or TVS that is doing well. So let's first start with TVS. As far as margins are concerned, a big miss, a long wait that investor wanted margins to expand, but it's just not expanding. You think that is something which now tells us one should stay away from this name? TVS first?
Yes, I think as you said, this margin disappointment has now sort of maybe it's the third or fourth quarter that you're hearing about this, and I think this is especially disappointing because somewhere the management had indicated that there would be a time when they would be hitting double-digit sort of margins. So while I think that I'm a little undecided really in terms of how to play this at this point in time, because if you look at it in terms of forward valuations, then it looks like it's at trading at same valuation as a Bajaj Auto or a Hero MotoCorp, which have better margins. But at the same time, if you were to get that jump in margins ever.
I was just talking to one buy-side auto analyst today, and he told me that that is if you assume that margins would expand going ahead. But if you assume that margins would not expand, then EPS expectation will come down quite substantially.
Absolutely. So I think that market doesn't know what quite to do with it, because in case that margin expansion comes, then you don't want to be out of the stock. So that's the only thing, and I think numbers are good.
So basically, it's a hope.
Yes,
it's a hope stock. Yes. It's a hope stock, right? Versus a Hero or a Bajaj. Yes. It's a hope stock.
Yes, and I think they're all trading at very fancy valuations in any case. So you sort of want to be with a name where numbers will continue to be good for that expansion will be there because they're also growing from a smaller base.
Right. How would you go ahead and look at ICICI? I was just looking at ICICI. It's down 4%, back to the 213 level. Earlier lows were close to 190 level. You think this results? Investors got agitated about ICICI, and what essentially is the problem over there?
Absolutely. I mean, they were pretty, when you looked at the headline number, it looked very disastrous. Of course, I think when you heard the explanation, you sort of knew why the number was there. But in any case, I think that optical number does matter, when you look at it. And it sort of also makes you think that concern does arise in an investor's mind that why would they, take such a sort of a step at a time, all at once, sort of when it is not required. Does it indicate that there is more to follow or whatever? Yes, I think that, especially when you weigh it against an HDFC Bank, which almost like automated a 20% kind of a growth number quarter on quarter, and you get these kind of results from another leading private bank. The concern is a little more. Of course, I think by now the concern is a little exaggerated, but perhaps. I think it's that just as in TVS Motor, as we said, hope is playing out. I think in ICICI that disappointment is now playing out in the stock price.
Right. As we are speaking about numbers, V-Guard has delivered good set of numbers, 42 crores versus expectation of 25, and you can immediately see there is a 4% sort of an uptick. Again, we'll wait and watch whether this number is a clean number or not, but generally for a company like V-Guard, you don't get a lot of exceptional item coming in. It's a very simple business. It's a very different sort of a business. 42 crores versus 25. They have a lot of benefit coming in from the lower commodity price, so we'll wait and see as to essentially what has happened. V-Guard 3.2% higher, 994, 995 numbers. You'll hear from the management tomorrow morning. They'll join us to explain about their numbers. As of now, it's down about 3.5% odd percent. Sharmila, just taking to the focus on ICICI, 213, you would still wait despite valuations being attractive, or last time valuations were attractive, but this time we've seen very huge EPS cuts coming in because of the PAT coming in just at 770 crores. So valuations are not that attractive.
As I said, that probably it makes sense to wait a little bit because of the disappointment that there is. But I think in terms of valuations, it's okay. I think I would stick my neck out and say it's a buy. But I think that just from the perspective that you've seen so many downgrades, etc., it's best to wait it out a little bit. Maybe, another 2-3% cannot be ruled out.
Right. But, why not own something like a Yes Bank? Why not own something like a IndusInd Bank, which is constantly performing, which is doing well? Or there, the valuation comfort is not essentially there?
Yes, I think that, I am positive on a Yes Bank or an IndusInd Bank, but, just to answer the question for ICICI Bank, I'm not comparing it with other banks, but just ICICI Bank at this price, I think that it's worth a buy.
Right, but you'll have to be patient. You'll have to be, you'll have to wait for things to sort out, right?
Unless absolutely, if they do sort out, then in that sense the return could be pretty good from current levels. But yes, I think if you were to look at from a safety perspective and you wanted a bank which had good results and which had the possibility of going up, then I think an IndusInd or a Yes Bank fits your bill better.
Right. Just stay on with us, Sharmila. Markets are about to close. 3% down for ICICI. We just spoke about it. Adani Ports, clearly the stock of the day, down 12%. SBI down 2.5%. Tata Motors 6.5%. 384. Axis Bank 1.2% down. Tata Steel down about 5.5%, 329. Coal India up about 0.25%. NTPC up about 1.4 odd percent. BHEL down 4, back to the levels of 119. Yes Bank down about 1.5%. HDFC Limited up 2%. There was a big upgrade over there, 3%. Sorry, HDFC Limited. Tata Power down about 0.7. HCL Tech up about 1%. Reliance absolutely flat. ITC down about 1.4. Tata Power up flat, ONGC down 2.5%, Reliance blinking into red and green as we close, Infosys up about 1%. Sun Pharma up 0.6%, Idea Cellular up about 0.5%, Power Grid down about 1.8%. Kotak Bank 0.5% higher, Bharti Airtel down about 1.6%, Ambuja Cements down about 1.7%, Tata Motors DVR following the Tata Motors main share down about 6%. Z Entertainment 4% decline, 403, 404. Tech Mahindra down about 0.5%. HDFC Bank up 0.6%. Wipro down about 0.36%. GAIL up 0.5%. Bharti Infratel down about 2%. L&T down about 0.5%. Cipla down about 0.8%. BPCL 0.6 decline. TCS absolutely flat. Lupin up about 5 to 6 rupees. HUL up about 4 rupees or so. That's the closing bell. 45 points decline for Nifty, 148 for Sensex. 45, just to remind, is a provisional close. We'll get the adjusted close in just a few minutes from now. Hero MotoCorp, 8 rupees higher. The top gainer on your screen, 2.8%, that is HDFC Limited. Clearly no surprise since morning. It was actually doing well. NTPC was up about 1.4, 1.5%. Let's look at the losers. Aurobindo, 815, that went up. It was yesterday also among the top gainers. Today also was a part of top gainers. In terms of top losers, Adani Ports was down 12%. Clearly, we have focus on this name, and this is the name which just went down throughout the day today. Tata Motors DVR both down 6%. North America, US sales came, and clearly markets did not like that, and that's the reason why both these names were down 6% each. Hindalco was down 5, Tata Steel was down 5. So metals as a pack, it's not only in India but globally derated, and I think that's why these names also went down quite significantly. BHEL 4% decline, 120 odd levels. Z Entertainment down about 4%, 403. ICICI Bank, Bank of Baroda, ONGC down about 2.5 to about 3 odd percent. SBI, Bharti Infratel, Bharti Airtel, Ambuja Cement, all of these names were on the lower side. Let's look at some of the mid-cap losers, and we really have a lot of them today. So SAIL was down about 8.5 odd percent. That was among the top loser. Adani Group stocks did not do well. Adani Enterprise, of course, was a results reaction as well. Vedanta was down 5.5 odd percent. Very strong volumes of 30 million share. Unitech, of course, is a 4 rupee stock but was down 7 odd percent. Tata Motors down 6%, but it's a part of the large cap list as well. Suzlon was down about 2.5 odd percent. Adani Power was down 3.7%. JSPL was down 3.5%. HDIL was down about 4 odd percent. Indiabulls Real Estate down 6%. Adani Enterprise, NHPC are some of the other losers. Arcom was down close to about 4.5 odd percent. Look at DLF, it's down 5%, so back to the levels of 120. Some of the other names, we just pull up some other names. So GMR Infra was down 2. SAIL we saw was down 8. Castech, of course, was down 5. But again, it's a 7.5 rupee name. Sharmila is still with us. Sharmila, Hero MotoCorp numbers tomorrow. Eicher Motor numbers tomorrow. Your view, decently strong numbers or in line with expectation is what these companies could deliver?
Yes, absolutely. I think if the sales numbers are anything to go by, what we've had from Eicher and Hero Motors, I think we just really need to see what kind of margins they do, etc. And I think for Eicher, really, I really would think that you should just let the numbers sort of thing play out and then take a call. But for Hero Motors, definitely, I think margins could be something that you need to look at.
Right. Ruchit is also now with us. Ruchit, any view on TVS? How would you look at yesterday's move and today's flat move when the markets were down?
Overall, it seems to be a corrective move within this broader uptrend which the stock is going through since last few years. And I think this, in case if this corrective move also extends from here on, it's quite possible the stock would correct further up to 254, 255. Definitely around those level, it would again become an attractive buy. So if anyone is looking the stock from short-term trading perspective, they should definitely wait for some more correction. Around 255, the stock would again be a good buy.
Right. How would you look at DLF 120 odd levels?
Most of the real estate stocks in last 1.5 months have shown a good momentum, and couple of good things about this last movement in last 1.5 months is one is they have been backed by good increasing volumes, and also this is clearly an impulsive up move, and whenever such impulsive up move comes, they shows that there is the start of an uptrend. So I think the real estate pack on the whole has started an uptrend now since last 1.5 months. This corrective action which we are seeing in last 2-3 trading sessions, this should be used as a buying opportunity. Specifically speaking about stocks, IB Real Estate, DLF and SDL are the three would be the three stocks where on dips one should look as a buying opportunity. DLF major support is placed around 110, 112. So if you get the stock around 110 in next maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I think that would be again a good buying opportunity in this.
Right. Sharmila, do you agree real estate is something which you would look to buy?
No, I'm afraid it's not one of the sectors I like, simply because I think that if you had to really get into real estate, you should play the proxy sectors, a housing finance, or maybe even a paint company or such type of a stock rather than the actual companies, because I think over and above the fact that really on the ground we haven't seen good real estate sales in this last year and a half. A lot of these companies are also very leveraged, and they have other issues as well which keep cropping up every now and then. So you do see a rally in real estate, and then some issue crops up and you see a correction, and so I think I would just rather stay away.
Right. How would you look at Tata Motors 6% correction today, buying opportunity, or wait for some time?
Wait for some time, because I think obviously now you need to wait to see the entire US numbers, sales numbers, which I think comes out mid-month. And from there you can take
US
a call.
numbers came out today. The entire numbers come out on 12th.
Yeah,
The full numbers, all the regions numbers.
Correct. So we've only heard North America numbers so far, so we need to wait for the entire. And I
but
think the
North
domestic
America,
numbers were very good.
North America is not essentially a very big market for them. So on a monthly basis, they do about 55,000 JLR. For North America, they did about 6,000. So it's about 10% of the market. So still there could be a lot of delta, say once those numbers come out.
Absolutely, and I think that I mean, the stock has had a sharp run up, which is why I'm saying, wait a bit, because in any case, market seems to be in a correction mode. But I think precisely, just to add to what you were saying, I think, when we saw the domestic numbers, you really saw a good recovery in the CV space, which is something we tend to ignore really, because like now their main, profit and earnings is really from the JLR bit. But at the same time, I think, their domestic CV is also now showing good recovery.
Right. Ruchit, what will be your view on Tata Motors?
Well, Pankaj, today's and yesterday's move indicates that some more profit booking could be seen in the stock. We have seen a good impulsive up move in last couple of months, and this profit booking, if it continues, it could lead the stock up to 345. So from short-term perspective, definitely one needs to wait for some more corrective decline. Around 345 would see some 50% retracement of this previous up move, and that would act as a good support now for the stock. So I won't buy at current levels, but definitely if the stock comes around 345, that would be a good opportunity to again enter into the stock.
Right. How would you go ahead and look at something like an Havells? It's not correcting, it's closer to 330. Last when we spoke to you, you said that it can go back to the levels of 330, but it's not corrected from there.
Yeah, Pankaj, this stock has been forming higher top, higher bottom. The earlier resistances, which were around 320, 325 range, after crossing that, the stock went up to 355. Now the thing is that those earlier resistances which were there has been crossed, and now on any corrective declines, if again the stock comes to those levels, and those resistances will now act as a support. So the trend remains up in Havells. So it's a buy on declines kind of stock. So any move up to 320 comes in the stock. Again, I don't think the stock would move much lower than those levels. So 320 would be a good buying opportunity for this stock. The recent high of 350, 355, I think if anyone has a bit medium-term perspective from 6 months, around 6 months, then I think these highs would be crossed, and stock has potential to go at least up to 370, 375.
Right. Sharmila, you were a fan of Havells at 280, 350, would you be a buyer? They've also given about 10 rupees dividend from them, 10 or 12 rupees.
Yes, so I think, they have done some kind of restructuring, which is now seeming to play out in their favor. But at the same time, as you said, since I've liked the stock at that 270, 280 level, it might be prudent on my part to really just wait it out a little bit at this level, because, the stock has corrected from levels closer to this to that 270, 280. So while things seem to be falling in place for Havells, at this level, I'd be a little cautious.
Right. Sharmila, thank you so much for taking out time for us. Always a pleasure talking to you. Ruchit, I have still a couple of some stocks for you. So let's start with ICICI Bank, 214, 215. How would you look at that name? One of the big underperformers?
So ICICI Bank, I think some sort of correction would further coming in the stock. Probably the stock has again breached its previous low, which were the support. So that's a bit negative sign of worry for the stock. The momentum readings on lower time frame charts, on hourly charts, have been oversold, and around 210 some support is there. But I don't think that it would go up significantly from those levels. Definitely, if the stock comes around 180, which was the earlier low, so some kind of double bottom formation could be formed if it comes around 180, 190 levels. So at these levels, I won't recommend to go long, but from short to medium term perspective, wait for some more declines. If the market correction continues and you get the stock around 180, 190 again this time, one should not miss this and definitely one should add it to their portfolio.
Right. But as of now, you would not want to short it if you're a trader?
No, Pankaj, as I've said, there is a support coming around 209, 210. On the way up, last couple of months, the stock had created a gap up opening, and that gap support is coming around 209. Also, if you see this entire up move from 180 to 260, exact 61.8% retracement is coming again around 210. So we have already seen stock correcting from 255 to 210 levels. So that's a bit of oversold momentum readings. So I think some sort of short covering again, in fact, could come from 209, 210. So from trading perspective, I won't go short at current levels. From 210, if the stock again goes to 230, 232, at those levels, one can look to create short positions as risk reward would be much favorable if it again comes to 230.
Right. How would you look at Tata Steel? 20 rupees decline today. After a long time, we are seeing a good correction in that name.
Yeah, so all the stocks, those went up in last couple of months, and those which had outperformed the broader market, now it's time for them, to show some profit booking or some corrective action. So Tata Steel was one of those stocks which had moved very sharply and had definitely outperformed the broader markets and also the other stocks amongst the metal space. Major support for the stock, major base would become around 290, 295. So that's about further 10% lower from current levels. So I think the stock would correct further 10% from current levels around 290, 295. The stock would form a strong base. I don't think that it would move much lower than those levels. So I would wait for some declines around 290, 300 levels. I think those should be good opportunity to again go long into the stock.
Right, Ruchit. Thank you so much for taking our time for us. A pleasure talking to you. We have the adjusted close. We closed on a provisional basis at 7,700, but now we are 7,760.